Last genre video, and this one's going to be a little bit of a head scratcher. If you see the title, you know that I'm trying to figure out the big four of indie rock. What the hell is indie rock? Okay, so when you try to figure out what indie rock is, you find an entire encyclopedia of the history of rock bands that are unsigned by labels or underground or something, and it's like a 60-year history, and that's not a particularly great way of describing the feeling I am getting. When I'm talking about indie, I don't even need to be talking about like not signed to a major label. There was just a certain point where it was like indie. It's this artistically sound hipster alternative rock that may or may not even chart well or play on the radio or anything like that. That kind of music. It might have people that play a whole bunch of different instruments. It might be something very twee and avant-garde and hipster and serious and critically successful, and maybe not as much commercially successful or radio airplay successful. So um, it's going to be something that's probably peaks in late 2000s, early 2010s. And I think when I describe some of the bands, you might figure out what I'm going for. But I'm having trouble figuring out a fourth member. So let's just go through it. When I think of this, I'm talking about Arcade Fire, right? Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm kind of talking about my younger brother's genre of music and like musical adolescence, right? So I'm talking about Arcade Fire. Arcade Fire confuses the crap out of me because I know they're successful because I hear about them all the time, and and they're major stars in the industry. And the lead singer is currently going through what I will call a hipster sex scandal, I guess you could say, or hipster sex pest scandal, I guess, because calling it sexual assault or anything else is confusing because it's whatever. He definitely did something wrong. We know that much. So he's in the news right now. But Arcade Fire apparently, even though they have all this success and album success, like they don't chart. Like I can't find chart information that shows any of their songs like do well on alternative rock stations or anything like that. And even the station I listen to in the city I live in, that is a college alternative rock station that tends to play bands you would think would be related to or associated with Arcade Fire, it doesn't really play Arcade Fire. So I know they were successful, and they're the baseline of what I'm going for when it comes to indie rock. But um, I don't know how monetarily successful they were in some other regards comparing to other genres. But um, representing the most alternative rock side of this genre, so like the left bumper, I guess you could say, or the left barrier, I guess you could say, is Modest Mouse. This is a band my little brother absolutely loved and did have some major success with things like Float On and Lampshades on Fire, especially on alternative radio. Um, I think you could consider them the alt rockiest version of this genre. So if Modest Mouse was over here, what's the super popular multi-instrumental hipster banjo playing version of this genre or barrier of this genre? The banjo may have been a clue, but it's Mumford and Sons. I do enjoy some Mumford and Sons songs, especially as they started to aspire to be U2 and less whatever the hell they were at the start of their career. But for example, I really enjoyed Ditmas by them. That is a breakup song for me, not for a person, but from a place and a job. So I was leaving my job for the last time in Omaha and turned on the radio, and I believe that was playing, and it was like, yup, this is what this feels like. This is definitely what this feels like. So I guess by process of elimination, Mumford and Sons would have to be my top out of these three. So it goes Mumford and Sons, Modest Mouse, Arcade Fire. But I don't know who the fourth person is to make this an indie genre. Like, there's so many different. If you look at the history, like whatever the Wikipedia's indie rock is, there's like a whole bunch of different things that could be in this. And my brother suggested Radiohead, but I think Radiohead like is way before this time of music and this movement of music. And even though they were independent at one point in time, I just don't think I can include them. I thought the Decemberists, I guess, when it comes to all the weird instrumentals and the folkiness of their music, kind of like rounds out what I was thinking when I thought of indie, but I don't know how successful they were. And I've heard like one song of theirs on the radio, Down by the Water, and it just doesn't feel right. I also thought about Of Monsters and Men, of Mice and Men, of Monsters and Men. The one that did the Little Talks song. Like they were all over the place when I lived outside of Philadelphia. And the all the different instruments, the quiet hipster politeness of the music, like it fits, but they were kind of a one album and sometimes even a one hit wonder. So how popular were they? I think that one hit may have hit 20 on Billboard. So does that push them up into this genre alone? Like it doesn't feel like a big member of it. There's got to be some band I'm just not thinking of that would fit this genre. And that's where I'm depending on you, dear viewer. What do you think is the other member, the lost member of the big four of indie rock or indie whatever the indie thing was? I got Arcade Fire, Modest Mouse, Mumford and Sons, and blank. Fill in the blank, please.